Thank you so much for being in the meditation here. So this is our start, this Christ realized is the tape. Christ realized is the thing I used today. So it's like voluntarily, of course, whatever is resonating with you. So this came up for me, and I would love to take another look at the specifics of what Joel is sharing here, because it might not be completely clear right away, even though it does something with you. So the beautiful thing then with the meditation and what Joel is sharing is not as much like the words that he uses. It's not about the way he says it, or that has in fact nothing to do with it. So where it comes from is, of course, where that becomes like power, you could say, where that is an extension of the love that you are. And that is what communicates. The rest is words and is form and is all this that you know, but that doesn't mean anything in that sense. So that's lovely to hear it like this. That's already important, because then you can also take another look at the words without taking away where it is coming from that Joel is speaking. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, it will become clear in what I share. So I prepared the video, so I have also this script that is used. But what Joel basically said here is this: it's like when you realize Christ in yourself, like when you have an experience of your connectedness, when your sense of separation dissolves and you experience light and communication, you could say you enter into the fourth dimension, as we have used before as a term, like entering into the fourth dimension. Now, what is so characteristic of the fourth dimension? And that is this, is that in fact it has nothing to do with form. And now this is interesting because you see, for instance, on YouTube, little movies people made about the fourth dimension, how it would be in a geometric form and all this and that. But in fact, that's theory, yes. That is not the practice of the fourth dimension. That is not being out of this, say, seeing the world really for what it is, or letting the world dissolve, or seeing the mesmerism of this, what you see, the perception that you're familiar with. Like, that is the difference. So all explanations, all attempts to connect it with the three-dimensional experience, it doesn't make any sense. And that is quite an exercise for at least for a human mind. Of course, it's impossible. In fact, you cannot imagine the fourth dimension. You cannot make an image of it. You cannot make a law of it. You cannot do anything with it. In fact, if you use your three-dimensional associative thinking or your human thinking, and so here we are. So how are you going to do this then? How you can say I realize the Christ, but Christ is, say, not a three-dimensional figure. Christ is not a figure in the first place. It is, you could say, formless. So that's a different idea, That's so you can also say, which brings it closer to you, is that Christ is an experience. It is an experience of, say, non-separation, an experience of being one with everything that is. So you can call it Christ, you can call it Krishna, you can call it any way you want it, in fact, because even that is a form, is a word, is a three-dimensional human thinking, associative, whatever, kind of say symbol that you use to show something that it actually isn't. It cannot be that. It cannot be the symbol itself. So here you go. That's why we still use symbols. Like we use symbols, we use words to express this, while at the same time we know it has nothing to do with it. Well, that's quite something, of course. So it's like that makes it abstract. Well, this is good to know, right? this is this is good to know. And this is really good to know because yeah, all the attempts to try to put it into form don't really make sense. So if you would do that, for instance, you do a healing and you expect a three-dimensional outcome of it, you see that that doesn't comply. It doesn't comply. Like oneness, wholeness has nothing to do with 3 dimensions. And that makes it actually really clear. So that's why I bring it in as a way to express it. So it saves a lot of, it saves a lot of deviation, if you want, like a lot of mistake. It prevents you from a lot of error, as Joel would say. Like it prevents you from a lot of error because knowing that it has no relationship with the 3-dimensional idea about yourself, you can allow it to be because it is. And this you know, like somewhere you know that that is so. You have a recognition with that. Otherwise you would not be here in this moment together. So I love to take a look at it like that. So then Joel says also, like receiving the Christ in yourself as an experience, like being free of the 3-dimensional limitation or all ideas that are limiting you in any kind of way, any concerns that you have or considerations that are rooted in time, all this goes for just a moment. So a real miracle happens in that sense because you literally are shifted out of the 3-dimensional idea of yourself. That's meditation, right? That is what we practice in meditation, being taken out of our 3-dimensional idea about ourselves. Now here happens something really fundamental. So now Joel says, actually, I cannot be concerned with the outcome. I don't know how this is supposed to look. It's like if you need this, it will be given. If you need that, it will be given. If you need this, it will be given. Like, well, the Christ is literally bringing in the necessary transformation. Is what he says in the last sentence. Like the necessary transformation will come. Does that have to be on a 3-dimensional plane? Who knows? It is not excluded, but see, it cannot be the reason why you do this. Like, no, the only thing that you have to do is recognizing your non-separateness of God, like your wholeness. You're recognizing your own holiness, your wholeness, and not anything else. The rest, like in form, in the 3-dimensional expression of it, would be of no concern, in fact. That takes care of itself. And also, like I said, realizing where you are, where you find yourself in a Christ realized consciousness, is that you see that the 3-dimensional idea about myself is a temporary one, so it has nothing to do with reality. So all your concerns are just like are just evaporating, in fact. We bring this in one more thing and then I'll stop talking probably. I don't know. So it's like the other thing then is the problems that you meet in the 3-dimensional world, in your 3-dimensional idea about yourself, have no solution on the same level. So every problem that you perceive in your 3-dimensional idea about yourself have no solution in the 3rd dimension, in the 3 dimensions that you know. So you're familiar with this idea, right? You don't solve the problem on the same level as you perceive the problem. No, it's coming from out of time, like out of, say, the fourth dimension or beyond. Um, you, it comes from there. Like the only solution to this place that you formulated for yourself, that you made a construct of, that you made real for yourself, that you hold on to like there's no tomorrow, and doing all these things with it to establish it, to continue it, to perpetuate it into the future, to do all kinds of things with it, like all that you do for this reason. It's like actually you want to hold on to it, to have an experience of it, in order not to be in the dimension that you actually exist, where you actually come to life. You cannot even call it an existence anymore. It's like it's a change of consciousness. But there's no really a change of consciousness. No, the consciousness that you are in your three-dimensional idea about yourself is what isn't you. Now, I can go on for that, with that idea for a while, because you see that everything you think, everything you perceive as a problem, is rooted in the three-dimensional idea about yourself, and it has no reality. Now, so what are we doing here then? What is the reason that we're actually here, that we meet each other and that we come together to remember our true essence? Like that is the reason why we are here. The reason why we are here is in fact to remind each other, say, knock on each other's shoulder, saying, remember, this place is over. It's gone. It's there is no such thing as a three-dimensional you-ness of you. So that is pretty amazing, isn't it? That's pretty amazing. So that's our function here, to remind each other, and that's why it's great, say, to have moments that we come together to let ourselves be inspired, to see that where two or more are gathered in my Krishna name, where two or more are gathered in my name, I'm in the midst of you, like I'm right there with you. And how can Jesus say that? Like how is that possible that Jesus says that? Well, see, here you go again. So here's your three-dimensional mind thinking there's a Jesus, there's somebody else, and there's a me. So now we forget ideas about ourselves. We come together in Christ's name, in Jesus' name. We come together here, like we come together in Krishna's name. Well, I'm using Krishna just to make it really open. It doesn't matter in that sense. So a realized Christ consciousness is not separate from you, is not separate from anyone. When Jesus resurrected, we all resurrected. Because there's only one resurrecting consciousness, and that's yours. You're completely a part of it. How much you try to prove that you're separate. I'm saying it is a bit paradoxical and yeah, confronting, because it is like you need to be shaken up a little bit. I need this remembrance too. It's like you need to be shaken up, because before you know it, you fall into the idea of a three-dimensional you-ness and a three-dimensional continuum where you think that you are and you're not. Only to remember and knock each other on the shoulders like, okay, this place does not exist, let's go. And let's go means let go of all the ideas you can possibly have about it. Realize that the Christ is in you and that there's no separation whatsoever, and have a blast, have play in the garden, have a wonderful experience of yourself. So are you ready for so much joy and happiness? Great. Great. So this is why we come together. So it's basically a celebration to keep reminding ourselves that this three-dimensional idea of ourselves is old school, is gone, is over, is out of this world, literally. And yeah, that's great inspiration to me always. I love to hear that. So remind me of it when you are speaking, please. When you are sharing something, remind me of that. All right, so this is great. Now what I do now is this. What we are going to do now is this. And I'll put us in the gallery view in a second. But I'm saying this to you, so that's why I keep it like this. So I'm telling you this. It's like there are some of us, like it's now, we probably have like 3/4 of an hour. So in order to share something and take time to really go for that and allow something to happen to you, to me, allowing something to happen. If you have prepared something that you love to share today, please do so. Please do so. It is only now that we have, like I said, 3/4 of an hour, so probably say 10 minutes per sharing would be great, or less. That's fine too, of course. So that means that only like three of us can share. Now, don't be shy. Don't say like, okay, I'll let the other guy. No, just if you feel like, oh, I gotta do this, then just do it, because it's important, and there's no, yeah, you feel it, so that's totally legitimate to share, to stand for that and go for it. So I love to hear that from you and to see that demonstrated by you. And so that's why I give this little introduction.